What is going on? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be working on something, well, we've already gone over a couple times. Carburetors for my truck. So last time you guys saw, I had rebuilt the Edelbrock. It's a Qjet that's redone by Edelbrock, and put it on, got it running. It actually runs pretty good until it's warmed up. So what's happening is that either the base for the carb or the adapter is warped. So it'll run good, it idles fine, everything like that, until the truck gets warm. Once it gets hot, then it creates a huge vacuum leak right at the base, right in the middle. So where all the bolts are, it seems to be okay, but between the bolts, I'm guessing something like this. It's moving, and it's two aluminum pieces put together. One of the things that I think is causing that, or that I didn't see this before, was there was that big thick gasket that was between them. It's like I don't know if it's a heat insulator or whatever, but there's a big gasket. I couldn't fit that on here after rebuilding the carburetor because the gaskets were so much thicker in the body of the carb that the bolts weren't long enough. And it's a whole long-winded thing that I tried to go to the next bolt size up, but they were too long. I would need to get spacers. It was a pain in the butt. So I just ended up taking this gasket off and just bolting it on. Again, ran good until it's warm. So what I ended up doing was I got this. This is a Edelbrock 1411, and it's a 750 CFM electric choke carb. Now, I'm not going to hook the choke up right now. I want to make sure this thing gets running all good. It is a bit different than the Qjet style, so I did have to go get some parts for this. I have to extend the fuel line from the front to the back. The throttle linkage is a little different, so I just got some rubber hose to do the fuel line. And I got this little Edelbrock 8009. It's a throttle linkage adapter. Main reason being is the linkage in here has got holes where the other one on the Qjet is a stud. So I don't have a stud already. I probably could just use a small bolt. The local parts store had this in stock. It was only a few bucks. And then I got some Spectre, whatever these are called, 1.5 inch carb studs. They're actually pretty nice because on top they have a hex, so you can actually screw them down instead of using your fingers and a rag with a wrench and trying to get it on. You can actually get these down in there. I'm not sure this is going to be long enough. They do have 2 inch, so if I have to, I'll go back and get those, but I'm hoping the 1.5 inches is long enough to fit through the adapter, because this is a square bore intake, a spread bore carburetor, so you need an adapter to fit them together. So I'm hoping this goes down in there, we get the thick gasket and this on there, and everything works. So what we're going to end up doing right now is we're going to pull the old one off and then just start fitting everything together and see what I'm either missing and need, or if it all actually works. We'll go from there. All right, so first thing we're going to do is pull the fuel line off. That's just a couple clamps, and pops right off. Okay, filters off. Take the linkage off. Turn the springs off. Alright, so you can see we got the old carb off. Got some fuel in it. I mean, it still looks good. I don't know what I'm going to do with it. Maybe I'll throw it on the shelf. Maybe I'll sell it. Who knows? This is that gasket I was talking about. So it's pretty thick. It has little plastic pieces on the end so you don't crush it. I'm assuming it's for heat insulation and probably helps form to the two surfaces when it does get hot. So hopefully this helps out and eliminates the issues I'm already having. So I'm gonna pull this stud out, put the new studs in, check the height. As mentioned earlier, they have a 7/32 hex on the end, so these will be a lot easier to put in than the old style studs. So the old ones are just threaded top and bottom, and I don't know about everybody else, but I end up marring them generally, trying to put it in and keep it tight. So you got to use some sort of pliers to grab at the base. Can't always jack up the threads. So I'm just going to throw that one in there for right now. I'm going to put the gasket on and then the carburetor and see if we have any luck or if I need to go get those 2-inch studs. I'm going to need the 2-inch, unfortunately. All right, so I just made it back from the parts store, swapped out those 1.5-inch studs for 2-inch studs. Should be all good now for that. Hopefully that's the last hurdle and I can get this thing hooked up. Again, I'm just going to throw one stud in and then put the gasket and the carburetor on and see how everything fits. Alright, we have a winner. So there is about, as you can see here, we have a good amount of threads there, enough to get the nut on. I think that's going to be good, and because this base is the same thickness all the way around, I know on all 4 corners we should be alright. So let's get to putting the rest of them in and then moving on to the next obstacle. Alright, so the way I think this works is we're going to put that in there, put the nut on the back side, and this should just slide right on there. There's a little pin that goes through that. Comes with a cotter pin, but I think I have some small hitch pins that may work. It'd be much easier and reusable to do a hitch pin versus, or a clevis pin. I'm not exactly sure what they're called. I'm not sure I'll have something that small. I'm hoping I do, but it looks pretty small. For reference, this is the cotter pin they give you. So it's pretty tiny. This is a little too big. I think that's way too big as well. This one's a lot longer, but it's thinner. I don't think I have any smaller ones, but I'll go look. Cotter pin it is. I don't have anything this small. I could always go and pull this off, find one that's this small and replace it. But for now, I'm just gonna slide this guy on and bend them back. I need throttle return springs, which I have a dual spring setup, which I think I showed you this before, but if you haven't seen it, I have a long small spring and a short large spring. So I run the small spring inside the large one. Overall length, they're right about the same, but it gives you a little extra assurance that that throttle linkage is going to close and not get hung up. So as you can see here, I changed out the carburetor stud from the old carburetor to this one. The one that came on here only went up to about here, and this has like a really tall air cleaner that the previous owner put on here. I still run it just because. So I just swapped this over, not a big deal. And then as you can see here, I got the fuel line hooked up. Like I mentioned, I think I'm going to zip tie that down like that. But we should be just about ready to go. I don't think there's much left, so let's get it buttoned up and checked over everything, and then we'll try to fire it up. Alright, so I got everything buttoned up. I'm going to use a little starting fluid since there's no gas in the line right now. It's probably going to take a while to pump, so if I can get it started faster, that would be great. I think everything is buttoned up. Again, the choke isn't set on this. It's not even hooked up. So I'm not really sure where it's going to be at. I can't tell you if it's going to be fat or lean. Alright, so here we go. That was the starting fluid. I was hoping it'd run a little bit longer, but I guess we'll see. Come on. Idling. Sounds like I got a vacuum leak anyway. Not really sure where. Well, if I put my hand over the top of the car, idle goes up. Yeah. Still got a leak somewhere. But it is running. No fuel leak. Not really sure where the vacuum leak is coming from right now, but it is idling much better, even with the vacuum leak. Normally I would have to sit in the truck for a minute or so and keep giving it gas until it got a little bit warm before it would idle. Once this was running, it just has been idling. So progress so far. I'm going to look into it a little more, try to figure out where this vacuum leak is coming from, but right now some success. All right, we're gonna take it around the block, see how it runs. I adjusted the idle, it's down a little bit. Idle's fine in park and neutral. In gear, it might be a little low for me. I don't have my tack hooked up, so I can't really tell what it is. It doesn't sound too bad, but it might be a little bit low. I brought a screwdriver just in case. Also, I haven't driven this thing in a while, and especially since I redid the power steering on these Hydro Boost vehicles. If you don't know, the power steering feeds the brakes as well, so it's an integrated system. So something you definitely want to make sure is working, because if you don't have power steering, you don't have brakes, and that can be a bad combination. Brakes. Actually, the brakes might be better than they were before. The throttle's really stiff, even though it's the same springs I had before. It's a lot harder to push the pedal, but I kind of like it. You just got to give it a little bit, and you're accelerating. I like it. Is still making a howling noise, which I do not like, but I can tell you right now, it runs way better with this carburetor. I think I'm gonna take it around town just to get on the road and see if I can open it up a little bit and see what it does. Thing drives way better. This is a totally different truck right now, the way it's driving. I should have done this a long time ago. The power is so much smoother. Before it was very jarring, and then the first two throttle blades had a lot of play, and then the back ones would slam open. There wasn't really a feather to it. I haven't opened it up yet, but just on the front throttle blades right now, this thing is way more drivable. You're not going to win any speed contests in this thing, but it is so much better. Well, pretty successful drive. Nothing caught on fire, nothing blew up, nothing's leaking. It accelerates better, it idles better, it starts better. Everything so far is better. So very happy with this upgrade. Do got to figure out what's going on here. Obviously I have a leak somewhere. Not sure what it is. It's going to take a little bit of investigation for me to figure out, because I know nothing about these carburetors. I need to hook up the PCV on here, and aside from that, I think it's good. Let me check. Looks like we are still leaking power steering fluid somewhere. So I don't know. It looks like it's on the top, so it's possibly blowing out of the cap. Yeah, it's really full. It's fuller than I left it, so I'm thinking it's coming out of the cap at this point. But if the hose on the bottom is still good and dry, which it is, that helps me a lot, because that's where it was leaking from before. So maybe I pull a little bit of fluid out. Anyway, it's a whole nother deal. Gonna end it off there. Carburetor swap went awesome so far. Still a little bit of work to do. Very, very excited that I get my truck back. Thanks for watching. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button. Check out the rest of the videos on the channel. Appreciate everything you guys do. We'll see you guys next time.